Hey folks, it's Paul here from Raine&Horne, and we've been talking a little bit lately, Talisha and myself, about becoming an investor and what you need to do. So last week I think I spoke about that you need to have a team of experts around you. So a mortgage broker, an accountant, obviously a lot of people will have a mentor or a coach that helps them in their investment journey, and a property manager, and also it helps to have some contacts in the trade industry. So what is it that every landlord wants once they've made the step to purchasing an investment property? Well, the first thing is those experts are there for a reason. They're there to give you strategic advice. So they need to be on the ball, they need to be aware of or are familiar with the area that you've purchased in, and they need to be basically giving you advice along the way to help you save yourself from making mistakes. Secondly, what does a landlord want? Well, if we look at it like a house, the strategic advice is the foundation. That's what's going to set you up for what happens. Then the walls of the house, we could say that we're looking for revenue. That's why we buy a property, is so that we can have some sort of long-term, even short-term revenue benefits. So what you need to do is make sure that the rent is being maximised. What little things can you do to help increase the value of the rent that you can get? You obviously need to make sure that vacancy periods are minimised. So that's where your property manager comes in, someone that's proactive around filling leased properties, those sorts of things. And obviously there needs to be a system in place to make sure that the tenants are made accountable if they happen to fall a day or two behind. Secondly, apart from the money, you've invested a lot of money. So the other part of the house is asset protection, because you've just purchased an asset. What do we need to do to protect this asset? Well, there's a couple of key things. Firstly, you need to be proactive in the way that you look at the property as what needs to be done, what doesn't have to be done but would be nice to be done. And the needs to be done, the earlier you're aware of that, the easier it is to budget. So your property manager doing regular inspections and not just looking at the obvious, but being able to report back on some of the less obvious things is really important. Good question to ask your property manager when you're interviewing them. Secondly, smoke alarms. They need to be done in the house. There's legislation around that, so it's compulsory, but they also need to be compliant and done every year. So that's really important, because you don't want to have a fire and you go to the insurance company and they say, sorry, you're not covered, you didn't have smoke alarms. Most property management departments will actually include that and advise you along the way, but that's something you should be aware of. And thirdly, insurance. We all insure the house, and the bank that you're getting the loan from will need you to have the house insured, but you really need to consider landlord's insurance, because that's a way that you can guarantee for loss of rent if the worst thing happens and you have a tenant from hell that does some damage to the home that takes time to repair. So that's basically your foundations and the walls of the house. What's the roof you put on if you're a landlord that's going to make you completely happy? And that is communication. So we go back to our foundation, the key people you've got in your advisory team. They need to be in open and constant communication with you. And it's a two-way street. You need to accept your part in that responsibility as well. But little problems can be solved when they're tackled early. Little problems become big problems when there's poor communication. So that's my advice for a landlord. What you need is strategic advice from a team of experts. You want to guarantee your revenue, you want to protect your asset, and you want to do that with good communication. Hope that's helpful to you.